I'm Emily Ostrander. I'm in 10th grade and I go to George Washington High School.
My name is Ebony Clark. I'm a junior here at George.
My name is Jake Fisher. I'm in 10th grade and I go to George Washington High School.
I am a junior at George Washington High School and I'm 17 years old.
My name is Emma Hollers. I am 17 years old. I am a junior at George Washington High School.
Farrell Bonez, George Washington High School, grade 11.
My name is Naeem. I'm 17 years old. I go to George Washington High School and I'm in 10th or 11th grade.
My name is Calvin Fugit. I'm in the 11th grade right now and I go to George Washington High School.
My name is Gabby Oleg. I'm a junior at George Washington High School.
Dear white people.
Dear white people, a wise woman once told me that the best way to approach a sensitive topic is by first acknowledging your similarities. So that is how I will proceed.
We're both people. We are both students and we both attend George Washington High School. Despite these similarities and the fact that we are members of the same community, our differences are the things we choose to devote the most attention to. The purpose of this letter is to acknowledge that our perceived differences generate a lot of misunderstandings, as we are often focused on the color of the other's skin and begin to make assumptions and impressions based on this sole attribute.
One of the main reasons I feel we continue to perpetuate stereotypes and endorse prejudices is because we do not have any experiences to allow us to believe otherwise. I went to a predominantly white elementary and middle school. Being a minority was basically just another component of my character. When I came to George, it was really an eye-opening experience because never before had I been surrounded by so many people that looked like me. For the first time, I felt like I could truly fit in, yet I was mistaken. When I conversed with a few black people, the first thing they commented on was the fact that I spoke like a white person. I was confused that a speech pattern was conducive of someone being a certain race.
The white people I engaged with told me I spoke very well and seemed very educated, as if it were unheard for a black person to be able to convey their thoughts in a coherent fashion. So there I was, not really accepted by those who looked like me, and blatantly out of place among my white counterparts. Racism was a systematic establishment in which society was constructed to benefit white people, and in turn oppress black people. I feel this definition places a lot of blame on white people for the color of their skin, something neither one has any real control over. At the same time, the definition is very disenfranchising because there's basically nothing I can do to overcome the system that was created to work against me. I recognize that there is a lot of truth in this definition, yet it makes it seem as though racism will always be a part of our society, and I'm not okay with that.
All too often, white people feel the need to mimic my sassy tone when we speak. I do not understand why they change their speech to match my own, why they feel the need to waggle their head a little more, to poke their lips out to resemble my own, why they feel the need to ask me my favorite rapper. Tell me why they ask me about my black experience, but I feel as though I am being met by ignorance. Tell me you've never benefited by racism, by a system that favors your race. White people say they want equality, yet I bet they couldn't stomach a word not slightly bent in their favor. Imagine what it would be like to rarely see someone of your race represented in the media, to have the concept of success colored by the capacity of your race.
Tell me you haven't felt as though it is an act of injustice to offer minorities scholarships for the color of their skin, failing to recognize that you've already been given the world. Tell me why their eyes flee when they've met mine. Tell me why being black is treated like a handicap and is used for a justification for my negative actions and never my pro-social ones.
Tell me why you mock us, hate us, degrade us, misconvey us, only to mimic us and to imitate us and attempt to be us without having to deal with the ramifications of being black. It's infuriating that we were once ridiculed for our trademarked characteristics and now white people strive to embody these characteristics without having to acknowledge where they originated. It's not fair to say that racism isn't real, to tell me we've eradicated it, to tell me it's different from the past than the past, because although this may be true, it is very real, and it is being perpetuated by both your race and mine alike. The funny thing is, I don't hate you.
I have a lot of feelings towards you, but I guarantee hatred is not one. I envy you, I pity you, I admire you, I respect you, I blame you. I am ashamed of you. I am appalled by you. I am in awe of you. But I promise you this, I do not hate you. You will never know what it would like to be born with negative labels plastered on you, and to have your capacity for success tainted by the color of your skin, no more than I will know what it is like to have a life of white privilege.
So let's come together and stop tearing each other down because of our races and begin to build each other up. Sincerely, a Black person.
Sincerely, Black.
Dear Black people,
Dear Black people,
over recent years, I've begun to realize that as a white girl who lives in a mainly white neighborhood and takes classes with mostly white kids, I receive a lot of benefits that aren't available to the rest of the population.
I am discriminated against as a girl, and that's horrible. I can't even imagine people judging me negatively because of the color of my skin as well. Sometimes we talk about how we are all the same and how the color of our skin doesn't matter. Well, I certainly agree that the color of our skin shouldn't matter. But I disagree that we are all the same. Perhaps trying to find so many similarities is causing us to overlook our differences, which should be celebrated.
It breaks my heart to see that racism is still such a prevalent issue today and that the consequences are horrible. There's no way to excuse the statistical difference in incarceration rates, victims of police violence, and poverty. And it's honestly impossible for me to wrap my head around the human cost of racism that is so deeply ingrained in our society.
I've been called a white, skinny B-word, but that's as bad as it gets. Sometimes ignorant. I recently saw a BuzzFeed article about Snapchat from which white kids, some were using their Macs as umbrellas or notepads, or getting brand new $1 billion cars for their 16th birthday.
There are a lot of good stereotypes about white people. It's unfair and embarrassing. I can't imagine having to deal with the prejudices faced by blacks in the United States. I don't have the words to express how sorry I am, and quite frankly, I have no idea what to do to help. Thank you for listening, a white person.
Thank you for listening, a white person.
Dear white people, I don't have anything against you guys. You guys are very nice. However, I do have a couple of questions. What did we do? What did we do for you guys to put us through so much? We worked for you and we cooked for you, and yet you guys still treat us like we didn't do anything for you guys. We put up with so much of your shit, and yet we still respect you guys. I do understand that some of us African Americans are acting really ignorant, and yes, we do act up, but you guys can't judge all of us by those people. If I do need to get or be ignorant, I will, though I really hope I don't have to. Sincerely, a Black person.
Dear Black people, if I'm being honest, the worst thing I've been called because of my skin color is stuck up. If I'm thinking about it seriously, the worst pain I've ever felt in the problem of racism is guilt. If asked, I would say that I feel guilt when I acknowledge how I'm sitting on the weighted scale in an unjust system. I feel guilt when I tell people that my school is not as white as theirs, but yet my friends are. I feel guilt when I can relate to stereotypes about my race. If I'm being honest, I feel uncomfortable in decisions about racism because my voice is not the one that needs to be heard. The color of our skin is arbitrary, and yet race can mean so much more than color. It can mean identity and culture. If my life was a story, my race would be the subtext. It might be assumed or it might be obvious, but it would not get its own chapter. If I'm being honest, it is even difficult to find enough to say to fill this chapter. When I am around Black people, I become hyper-aware of my pale, almost translucent skin. When I hear the different intonations in people's voices, or when I read dialogue in a story, and now I know right away that the character is Black, it feels as if there's a hole in the pit of my stomach. If this is how I am affected, I cannot imagine how people of races that are labeled minorities feel. If there is one thing I want you to know, it is that I am aware. We would get to the point where we would not define ourselves as white and you as Black. These colors are opposites, but no two people are ever without similarities. Sincerely, a white person.
For white people, I like you guys. Y'all music is good sometimes. Y'all are nice. And very smart, but you undermine us. Y'all sometimes give us a chance, but to be as good as y'all. Y'all sometimes are questioning what we do. Why? Y'all don't understand our hair. Thanks, white people, though, because your stupidity unites the Black people. Sincerely, Black people. P.S. I love some of y'all.
Dear Black people, I am a white person who lives in a largely white, middle-class neighborhood. Due to this situation, I have rarely faced many issues of discrimination in my life. Surrounded by people with similar backgrounds as well as socioeconomic statuses, I never have felt very out of place. Discrimination and racial conflict is something that is often reported in the news, but is something I have rarely witnessed, and never to the degree to which I know exists in the world. One of my closest friends, who I have grown up alongside since childhood, is African American. I have noticed through our friendship on many occasions where we have been treated differently. Teachers always felt the need to check his homework to a more thorough extent than mine, which I personally believe is due to the color of his skin. Racial stereotypes that are commonly associated with white males are wealthy, well-educated, a nice home with parents that care and support me, and stuck up. Many of the stereotypes I listed do apply to me in many cases, although not completely accurate. I do come from a more affluent family, although we are by no means wealthy. My family holds the income of a middle-class family, which allows me to live comfortable but not lavishly. I hope to become well-educated, and I believe that this should be a stereotype for people of all races to strive towards. Stereotypes that I hear of blacks are often negative. The most common stereotypes are poor, living in broken homes, criminal intent, and hoodlum type character, with athletic or musical talents the only hope to make it rich. Rap music is a prominent stereotype as the type of music enjoyed. I know these do not apply to the whole race and has been generated by racial discrimination faced by African Americans in this country. Sincerely, a white person.
Dear white people, to be completely honest, I do not know what to say to you. I'm tired of having to break down the stereotypes in my community as well as yours because of the events that happened only 100 years ago. I'm tired of having to fake fit into what you think I am. And you want to know something else? Y'all got me messed up thinking that racism will eventually disappear. Not your fault for what is happening, but some of your actions don't help. I wish I could tell you in words what I feel and what it is like, but I can't. It's not that easy to write what is happening to me every day because of my skin color in a short amount of words in a letter to you. Sincerely, Black.
I agree with everything it says. I think, it really embodies a lot of the opinions that both white and black people who want to strive for equality feel. And as I was reading it, I was like, yes, everything that it's saying is right. And I think if more people agree with it and more people will strive for not degrading or diminishing black power and black intelligence, then I feel like we could become more equal.
I think it's funny that they can recognize, that white people can recognize the issues in today's society, but they act like they don't know how they can change it, when frankly they're the only ones who can. It's not like we can go out there and change the world when the world is built on white people, built on the foundation of white people, and that some of the we don't recognize the good stereotypes about white people that are fair and embarrassing is a little overstepping, because unfair is what a black person can go through walking down the street daily. What's unfair is that I can get pulled over because I'm black, just because I'm black. What's unfair is that my brother, if he could go outside, be walking, and get shot and killed. That's unfair, and that's embarrassing. Us not recognizing the good stereotypes about white people, it happens.
I feel indifferent. I guess this is racist on my part. I feel like most white people have the same opinion as them. I'm sorry. Racism.
I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that is said in this letter. The person sort of inputted their token black friend in this letter really annoyed me, just because no one cares, and that has nothing to do with stopping racism or anything like that.
I don't know, I thought it was kind of to a certain extent eye-opening to how this person, I guess, specifically views white people. There are parts that I totally agree with, and there are parts that I didn't agree with as much, but I mean, I think the things I didn't agree with were more minute points, like, of course, like, I don't support Donald Trump, or, like, I don't know, like, things like that.
I mean, I can definitely see how it's true, because I know a lot of people who ask these questions. I know for a fact my family does, and it kind of bugs me a little bit. But, yeah.
Coming from a very traditional family, I think that a lot of these ideas are kind of wrongfully ingrained into my mind, and I think that every day is kind of a learning lesson trying to break away from those. And so like I make it a personal goal to kind of just stray away from those, and like reading stuff like this makes me really sad, because while it shows me how far I've come from a few years ago even, but also how much farther I have to go, and then how much farther society has to go.
Racism is basically treating somebody differently, or like thinking of somebody differently because of the color of their skin.
Feeling that a group of people based on their race is less of a person or less justified in living than you are based on your race.
Racism is a systematic oppression system. In the United States, black people cannot be racist because white people are like they made the society and the system is based on white people, but in other countries it can be different because in each country the system is the system was raised, I guess, or is built on one racial group, and then the other racial groups are being discriminated against.
I think there are multiple like definitions of racism, and it's really hard. I would think of it as like, in the United States specifically, it's a system of oppression in which one race gains benefits from the color of their skin, so in this case white people, by the process of another race, which in this case is black people, being disadvantaged through that.
Objectifying anybody for anything based on their color, or where they come from, or little things.
Racism itself is like a society, like a social construct, and like even like a government like constructed to like work against and like disadvantage a certain group of people. Racist ideas and stuff would, I guess, just be like judging somebody and kind of bringing along a lot of stereotypes and negative aspects of like one person and applying those to an entire group.
The systematic oppression of a certain group of people. Racism just is the culmination of those ideas, and like the buildup of not being able to talk about it and kind of just being silent about it for a long time.
It makes me feel ashamed to have known that even indirectly I have partaken in such a conducive and hating environment.
I feel like this isn't pertaining to me. I have no problems with anybody of color or anything. But knowing that my peer wrote this and that they are, at this day and age, struggling with racism like this, it's kind of off-putting.
I guess it just like makes me sad mostly to know that these issues exist and that these feelings exist within our school and within our community.
I'm just surprised how much they're able to realize this, and like it just seems like they actually care a lot about this subject. So